have always believed that Canada is the best country in the world, but now my beliefs have been confirmed in a new report by the Reputation Institute that says that Canada is the most admired country in the world with the best reputation because of a number of factors. They say political, economic, and environmental. Someone should probably tell the Toronto Star. What do you think, Furey?
You know, it's funny you should say that last comment because I get so frustrated that folks are always down on Canada, coming up with reasons to say why we live in some dictatorship, how everything's going down the tubes. So many studies come out year after year. Forbes magazine just recently said we're one of the best countries to invest in. Our life expectancy is one of the highest in the world. Our GDP per capita is so healthy. I wrote in my Canada Day column in the Sun papers, Marissa, that Canada is just the best country in the world on so many indicators, no matter how you put it together. And I do think, we say, who cares what some institute says? Because, of course, if they'd ranked us like 15th, we would have been like, well, who cares? But this is actually a survey of tens of thousands of people across G8 nations, the nations that, let's be honest, have the quality of life where they can make these judgments. And they're the ones that looked at about all the G20 countries to decide which ones were the top, and we're it. Oh, yeah.
It's so interesting because even just last year there was a report that came out. It was actually published in the New York Times that said Canada's middle class is the wealthiest in the world. You mentioned all of these reports that come out, and then you've got, of course, it's they're playing a game of politics. But you got Justin Trudeau who's saying, people are suffering, people aren't happy. I go to these protests, I see people holding signs with, Stephen Harper's face and is a dictator written above it.
Arrest the terrorist, Stephen Harper.
Yeah, they just don't get it. How many reports need to be out there for people? I mean, but quite frankly, I don't really need a report to tell me that.
Yeah, partial defense to Trudeau and Mulcair. I mean, they're trying to say, well, you got to make us PM, so they got to say things aren't perfectly hunky-dory because they want you to get rid of the other guy. But I do think, one of the things that frustrates me, there's this book that came out by the Samara Institute. I can't remember the exact title. I wrote a review of it. And it was saying democracy in Canada is in crisis. And one of the reasons that one of the rationales they used was that there's voter apathy, low turnout rate. But I think in many ways this is a good thing. The fact that middle-class people are just enjoying their family time, enjoying the hockey game on the weekends, going to their jobs, paying their taxes, because life is good, because we don't need to go out into the streets and go crazy and fight the cops, because we don't live in one of those countries.
This may be a controversial statement, but that we have low voter turnout is not necessarily a bad thing, and perhaps reflective of the fact that a lot of Canadians don't feel the need to go to the polls to change our current government. But I do want to ask you, because I was sort of thinking about this on my way over here, to what extent do you think that Canada's reputation as a peacekeeper plays into this?
Well, it certainly did in the 90s. I mean, I would argue that we've shifted from being a peacekeeper to a very different sort of category in which we are now more about asserting our values in ways that we weren't beforehand. And I, in my candidate column I mentioned, I argued that as well, that when we're going to UN summits and to G8, G20 meetings, G7 meetings now, we need to have a lot more swagger because we should not be moral relativist. Canada is the best country in the world, which means we are doing things well, which means other countries should be listening to us. We should not be listening to them. And when we're sitting on some human rights committee with Saudi Arabia and China and so forth, we should be saying, simmer down, guys, we're going to teach you a thing or two. We should have swagger and drop the moral relativism because Canada rocks it.
You know what Canada's supreme in addition to politically, economically, environmentally? Sports and hockey.
I thought you were going to say newspaper columnists.
Hockey. Canada's supreme in hockey always. And I think that's something that I think a lot of Canadians are proud about.
I think you're right.
Okay. Thanks, Furey.